Alright, I'm going to be running an Untitled story on simple difficulty. If you press Ctrl plus R on the name entry screen, you can choose randomly from a pool of names. I'm going to be doing little tap jumps here. The longer you hold the jump button, the higher you go, and you can kind of use that to optimize your movement, especially in the early game here. I just got a jump height upgrade. There's 3 of those. I'll be getting all 3. I'll also be getting a double jump ability pretty soon, and then there's 2 double jump height upgrades. And I'll be getting one of those because it turns out you can skip the other one. That's how this game sort of locks progression, because it's a Metroidvania, but it's a platforming heavy one. So, coming up next is the first boss. Because I'm playing on the easiest difficulty, I take so little damage that I can basically just damage boost through everything and bulldoze my way through the game. And this first boss, you just have to jump on him 4 times, and it's kind of a set pace because you have to wait for him to finish his second jump here before you can land on him there. He drops a bunch of stuff there, namely he drops 10 crystals. Crystals are the currency in the game, so I just got the double jump ability. And I do need a bunch of the in-game currency, a bunch of money, but I don't pick up that guy's crystals because they're just not worth enough for me to go out of my way to get. Sometimes crystals can randomly drop from regular enemies too, but they tend to not drop very many, and I don't rely on them in my crystal route. I only rely on bosses, because bosses drop a set amount. Now, bosses also give you a crystal bonus if you beat them with full health, so like that first boss gives you 20 instead of 10 if you beat them with full health. I also pick up a heart there, like a life upgrade. You don't need those to beat the game, but it turns out to actually save time to do a damage boost near the end of the run, but it requires 3 of those hearts to do, and it's still worth it. So this boss gives you 25 crystals, or 35 if you beat him with full health. Now, I don't have full health right now, but bosses also drop a little heart that refills your health when you beat them, and normally the heart spawns at the same time the crystals do, but with this boss, he spawns the heart way before his crystals, which means if you pick up the heart before the crystals spawn, the game still gives you the bonus, as if you beat the boss with full health. So I just grab that little heart, and now when the crystals spawn, I get 35 instead of 25. So I kind of cheated the system there a little bit. I think you can only do that with that boss. Okay, so now we get a jump height upgrade, and I gotta be... So my crystal route is a little bit tight, so I'm going to try not to take damage here so that I can go for the crystal bonus on the next boss. So the next boss normally gives you 35. If you get the crystal bonus, he gives you 55. So I'm going to try to do this guy without taking damage. So I have a bit of a buffer on crystals. The buffer is not strictly important, but it could theoretically save time later on too. If I build up enough of a buffer, then I can actually skip money from one of the later bosses. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. And it's also just nice not to have to worry about money. Okay, so I missed a crystal there, that's not a big deal, because I still have plenty. Ooh. Sometimes he doesn't shoot. There's a cooldown after you shoot before you can shoot again. Alright, so you go up here to load the save point on your map screen so that you'll be able to warp to it in a bit when you get the warp ability. Same thing over here. So I go down into this little well to get the warp ability, but also to pick up this double jump upgrade that I mentioned earlier. And then we go down here, we get the ability to teleport, fast travel basically between save points, and there we go. I messed up the menuing there. Okay, so we have to go here to Skytown because this is where the shop is, where we buy some of the stuff we need to buy. I need a total of 417 crystals in the run. 26 of them are for this ability, which lets me interact with these red energy clusters. And then there's 2 toll gates that I have to get through later on. One is 18 crystals and one is 39. And then lastly, I go back to that shop in Skytown for a gold orb, which is 334 crystals. And I do that kind of near the end of the run when I've saved up a bunch. Because it turns out to be fast to get that gold orb. You need 5 gold orbs to beat the game. And that one is pretty fast because you don't have to go very far out of your way to get it as long as you have enough money. Gold orbs are usually after like boss fights and such. Okay, another boss fight. This guy drops 50 crystals. If I had full health, he would drop 90, but I opted not to go for the bonus because that way I could damage boost on my way over here. Okay, and Yeah, so some bosses don't block off gold orbs, they block off abilities. Typically the early game bosses block off abilities, and the late game bosses, or the mid to late game bosses, block off gold orbs. And we only need 5 in simple difficulty to beat the game. So we get 1 from the shop, and then the other 4 from the end of like certain areas and bosses and such. So I need to wait for this guy's crystals to fall down. They spawn in the center of the room, but they tend to kind of spread out as they're falling down. So I always stay nice and far to the left there. If I had a few more crystals, I'd be a little more confident in... Well, I don't know. We'll see. So this gives me the ability to dive, which lets me fall faster and also break through some of those like certain blocks there. The collision in this game is a little janky though, and sometimes when you try to break through blocks, it doesn't work. It's a little weird. Okay, so there's the last jump height upgrade I want. I'm gonna reload the room to reset the position of these guys. That guy at the top is the crucial one because it all depends on his cycle, since no matter how fast I get to the top, I have to wait for him anyway. Because you can't damage boost through these guys, they're solid from both sides. And I have to wait for him, so I just reset his position so it's a little faster. So that's all the jump upgrades that I need to beat the game. Now, we go to this area called Night Climb. There is a boss at the top of this area that blocks off an ability that we need. But I'm actually not going to fight the boss because it turns out you can skip him. Now, because I'm skipping the boss, I actually don't need to worry about my health because I'm not going to be going for any crystal bonus or anything anyway, and I'll be saving right after. But the boss skip itself is actually pretty hard to do, at least first try. At least on the easiest difficulty. It's kind of nice being able to damage boost through all of this stuff though. So it turns out this skip is actually easier on harder difficulties because he throws out these little ghost guys, and you can bounce on those guys, and you need to bounce on those guys to do the skip. And he throws out more of those on harder difficulties. But it turns out that if you do that, you can do it either in the second phase of that fight or the third phase or something. It's really hard to do it in the second phase, but I managed to pull it off. Doing it in the third phase is much easier. But yeah, that skip is a lot easier on harder difficulties, interestingly. Okay, so we just got the ability to duck, which in and of itself is almost useless in this game. But it basically almost directly unlocks another ability that we need, which basically, I kneel in front of the statue by ducking, and that spawns some platforms. That is hinted at in the game, but it's still kind of obscure. And then that unlocks this ability, which allows me to hatch the egg that I've been in the whole game. And that reveals that I'm actually this bird thing. And basically what that unlocks is it lets me talk to NPCs. And more notably, it lets me talk to the toll booth people. Like this guy here. He's going to make me pay a toll of 18 crystals, so I need to be a bird to talk to him. Okay. I don't know about this crystal buffer. Well, okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna try to do this next boss without taking a hit. This next boss normally drops 75 crystals. If I beat him with full health, he drops 125, so that's a bonus 50. And if I can pull that off, then I can maybe skip some crystals later on. But I already have enough of a buffer that I know I'm not going to be too low on crystals as long as I don't do anything stupid. Now what this guy does is he turns yellow, and then to signify that he's going to jump out of the water, and then he jumps out of the water, and you have to hit him when he jumps out. It's actually a little trickier than it looks, to be honest, but it's still not really that hard. But it's hard to do without taking damage. I think this fight is pretty tricky without taking damage. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but in the middle of a run, I don't think it's that easy. Luckily, it's not required in my crystal route, but now I actually want to lure this guy to the bottom left corner of the room because he drops his crystals where you kill him. So if you kill him... Oh no! Wow, that's unfortunate. Okay, if you kill him in the bottom left corner, then you don't have to move over to the bottom left corner. Anyway, that was kind of unfortunate. I basically beat him, but then I took damage, like, right before I hit him. Anyway, that doesn't matter, because I have enough of a buffer that it doesn't really make a difference. It just would have let me skip a boss fight Well, not skip a boss fight, skip collecting crystals after a boss fight later on. So I just got the ability to freeze, or shoot ice shots. Now I'm going to be fighting another boss, which is a big dragon thing. And so I'm going to save at this save point here, which is going to refresh my air and my health. And then, unfortunately, my jump input got, like, eaten there. But, yeah, getting up here from the save point is kind of tricky, but... okay, so I'm not going to go for the crystal bonus on this boss because I prefer to damage boost through here. It's much faster and easier. Now, this boss normally drops 150 crystals. If you get the bonus, he drops 200. So what you have to do is you kind of wait out until he becomes vulnerable on his little tail there. And you hit him on the other side and then come back. It's a little tricky to do this because you have to be holding dive to hit his weak spot. And you have to be holding up to hit his... or to bounce high. And they're kind of opposite buttons, like you hold down and up at the same time, which just feels very awkward. Obviously, with different control schemes, you could get around that, but with the control scheme I'm using, it's pretty awkward. Now here, he's going to shoot like a big laser, so I'm just going to stick to the ceiling to dodge it. If you're in the right spot, you can dodge it that way. And then, finally I can kill him. Now, I only need to have up to 308 crystals here. Oops. So, he spreads out his crystals pretty far. I'm only going to pick up the ones that I need. So you can see I have exactly 308. Okay. So now we're heading to... Now that I have the ability to freeze, well, I can charge an ice shot. I'm going to head to this place called Sky Sand, but I'm not actually going to beat it because it's pretty slow to beat it. So I'm going to just go here to get an ability and then leave. So with my ice ability, I do this, and then break through that fire there. It's otherwise solid. And then here, we're going to do that trick where we get a save point on our map, and then we warp to it. That's actually intended here to get to that save point. That's how you're supposed to do it. But it's interesting because we actually use that to sequence break later. So, it's kind of funny. Okay, and then... now I get the ability to move left and right on ceilings, which is extremely useful. Now I'm going to be going to this place called Farfall. There's a boss down here. And the reason I needed 308 crystals is I need to spend 39 on this toll booth. I need 334 for the gold orb at the end. But I also get 65 from this next boss. So if I had had enough and I'd gotten all the ones from the dragon, if I had enough of a buffer and I'd gotten all the ones from the dragon, I'd have been able to skip the 65 from this next boss. But also, this next boss does have a bonus if you beat him with full health, but I've only ever done it once, and only ever in practice, not in a run. This guy normally drops 65, but if you beat him with full health, he drops 115. Not a great start to the fight, but not the worst one I've had either, so I'll take it. Blech. Yeah, this fight is really hard to do fast, honestly. And ideally I'd want to kind of beat him near the center of the room or on the left side of the room so I can pick up the money quickly. You see I have exactly 334, which is how much I need for the gold orb in Skytown. So, next area I'm not going to go to Skytown yet because the menuing is a little faster if I do it later. So we're going back to Deep Dive, and then there's this kind of abstract area in the game called Blank Land, which I'm going to be heading to. So when you run out of air, you don't die instantly, you just start taking damage. And so I'm going to just damage boost because I have enough health, and that way I don't have to stop at all the little air pockets to refill my air. So to get to Blank Land, on some difficulties you actually need both double jump upgrades to get there, but on this difficulty there's like an extra bubble to help you if you don't have it. So luckily we can skip that double jump upgrade to get to Blank Land, and there's also a skip in Blank Land that if I had both double jump upgrades, I would be able to skip very easily. Without the second double jump upgrade, which I'm not going to be getting, I need to use an ice shot to skip it, and it's a little tricky. So basically there's these enemies in Blank Land that are like these little triangle things. And you can't bounce on them or anything, they just hurt you if you touch them. But you can freeze them, and then you can stand on them while they're frozen. So that's what I'm going to be doing to be able to reach a screen early. And the idea is similar to before, where we warp to a save point we hadn't been to yet by adding it to the map. I'm going to do the same thing here, and that's going to let me skip the boss of this area because we can just warp to the save point directly after him instead and get straight to the gold orb. So that's convenient. Okay. Nice. Alright, so that's the save point. So now I'm gonna fall down and warp to it. So 1, 2, 3. Grab this, and then I go forward back to Skytown. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now we're gonna buy that gold orb we've been saving up for the whole game. And don't have to spend any more money. Okay, so we now have 4 out of the 5 gold orbs that we need to finish the game. And the last one we're gonna get is in this place called Dark Grotto. Now this warp is tricky, I gotta do 6 to the left. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna charge up an ice shot so that I can freeze this guy, stand on his head, and then get up here. And then same with this guy. And this screen kind of sucks. It's a little RNG, and I prefer not to get hit here, but I almost always do. Getting hit 3 times, though, that is really bad. Okay. It doesn't cost... Well, it does cost time, but it doesn't... Ooh, this game really wanted me to die this run. Oh my goodness. Okay. I need to be extremely careful in the next room. Okay. I still have to be careful on the boss fight, but I don't find it that difficult usually, so hopefully we'll be okay. Alright, so there's another boss fight coming up. I don't need any money this time, but I do need to beat him. And, well, first, before I start the fight, I need to light these torches to spawn him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Now, he's basically the sequel to the first boss that we fought in the grotto. This is the Dark Grotto, and he's he's like the same species, I guess. Species. Anyway, so on the first phase he jumps twice and then he shoots 2 little fireballs. Then he shoots 1 big fireball and you reflect it back at him with an ice shot. On the next phase he does 3 jumps, shoots 3 little fireballs, and then 1 big ice shot, or 1 big fire shot, and then you reflect it back at him. And then 4 jumps, 4 little fireballs, 1 big shot, 5 jumps, 5 little fireballs, 1 big shot. And on the last phase he actually tries to reflect his fire back at you an extra time. You have to kind of ping pong with him, but it turns out you can skip that if you're early enough. So I'm gonna try to do. Okay, so we now have all 5 gold orbs we need, so we're going basically straight to the end game. We just need to get to this, we need to get to this area called Black Castle, and to trigger the portal to get to that area, we need to first watch a cutscene, because there's like a story flag you gotta trigger first. The story in this game is a little, well, this part of the run is a nice breather. So there's this long beach here, called Long Beach, and then we talk to this girl at the end of the beach. Now, the girl's not really relevant for the plot, she's kind of just there as like a random shoehorned love interest at the... Oh, I need to talk to her. There we go. Okay, that was a little slow, I missed the text prompt. So, yeah, we talk to her here, and then we talk to her at the end of the beach, and then there's a little cutscene. So the plot of this game is something like the birds used to live at the top of the mountain, and then I think the ghosts scared them off the mountain and shooed them back to Skytown, and the sun follows the birds around, and the ghosts don't like the sun. I don't remember exactly. There's some hints at the lore throughout the game if you look for them. And this cutscene gives you a little bit of exposition, I guess, but it's mostly just kind of, you know, here's this random character we're going to throw in here for no reason. But the point of this cutscene, from a speedrunning perspective, is that this is the trigger for the portal to Black Castle to appear. So we have to watch this cutscene. And it's a nice breather because I don't have to press anything during this part. So this could be a bathroom break if I wanted. Now, I've been saying that this game, well, this difficulty is pretty easy because you can just damage boost through everything. But the end game is actually really hard because we're now skipping basically from early to early mid-game straight to the end game area. And so the platforming is all of a sudden going to be really difficult, and we're going to start taking lots of damage. Because I only picked up 3 heart upgrades throughout the run, I only have 130 health total, and pretty much everything in Black Castle is going to do 40 damage. So that means for each segment in between save points, I basically get 3 hits that I can take. And I even do some damage boosts in Black Castle, so that leaves me with even less of a buffer. Now, also Black Castle is just really hard in general, so you kind of have to shift gears here at this point in the run and really concentrate. So that's what I'm going to try to be doing. So there's 2 text boxes after the cutscene here. Also, she can randomly walk left or right before that cutscene. In my case, she had walked to the right before I started that cutscene, which is slower, but it's not really a big deal. Okay, now, so the portal to Black Castle is going to spawn right on over here, and then Black Castle is the reason we needed the gold orbs, because there will be a gate blocking us if we don't have the 5 gold orbs we need. Okay, so here we go, Black Castle. So this is the very skill-intensive part of the run, and very choke-heavy. Here we go. So I actually have to sit here and wait for the 5 gold orbs to spawn, or to go to their respective slots. And you can start moving as soon as the 5th one appears above your head, but it's actually optimal to wait slightly longer so you don't get to the wall too early. So I'm gonna do... Okay, wait a second. Hopefully that was... There we go. Okay. And then there's a cutscene here you can skip with S. And then I'm gonna do a damage boost here. And another damage boost here. And then... Okay, that's the first segment done. Now the second segment, there's actually a forced damage boost in this next segment. So it's not optional. And that's because I had skipped one of the double jump upgrades earlier. Black Castle is actually significantly harder without that extra double jump upgrade. Oh, that's not good. Okay. So I can only afford one more unintentional hit. I'm gonna take this really easy because I do not want to screw it up now. I could have gone. I wasted a lot of time in that room. That room is RNG. Oh no. Okay. I can't make any more mistakes. I'm just gonna focus here, I'm not even gonna talk. So that's the forced hit right there. Okay, made it past that segment. Now, it's not over yet. The next segment is hard, and then there's a hard boss fight. So It's not over yet. You can damage boost right here, but I am not gonna go for it in this run. This part is really stupid without the double jump upgrade. Oh god, okay. So here I want this guy to kind of chase me a little bit and then chase me up here so he's out of the way when I go down here. And then I need to rush past these guys. Okay. Alright, so, there's some damage boosting I can do at the end here of this segment, and then I have to do a really hard boss fight, and then the rest of the run is pretty free, although it's not guaranteed. Okay. You can make it up to that second platform right away, but I messed up the movement leading up to it, so I wasn't sure I was going to be able to. Alright, so I'm going to deboost here. And now we get another save point, and then this boss fight is pretty tricky, to be honest. So I'm gonna skip a cutscene here, press S. Alright, so I wanna just focus. This next part's kind of stupid. Yeah, sometimes that happens. I'm gonna heal. So the whole reason I was collecting hearts throughout the run is for a damage boost coming up. I only collected 3 hearts, but you need them because these guys do 60 damage each, so you need at least 130 health to survive 2 hits from them, and you need 2 hits for the damage boost. So we'll see that soon, hopefully. Also need to not get hit by any other ghosts on the way up. Okay, nice. Alright, skip this cutscene, and... Alright, this is the run! So I need to get his little ball to bounce back at him. Second phase is a little trickier, but shouldn't be too bad. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna make it in time. I wasted a whole cycle there, unfortunately. This fight is a little... This section is a little RNG, but luckily that didn't waste too much time. That was probably like, what, like 6 seconds or something. Okay, here. Little early on that jump. Alright, now luckily, there's another cutscene here that you can skip, but luckily, the game is very nice to you here, and it just gives you a free full heal on simple difficulty. Obviously, on other difficulties, you don't get that. I would say, so, I've made simple difficulty maybe look pretty easy in this game, just to beat, which is true, but every other difficulty in this game is actually pretty hard, I would say, to complete. And getting used to the physics in this game is also pretty tricky, because so it feels a little slippery sometimes when you try to turn around. There's a lot of like momentum or inertia that you gotta get used to. But honestly, there's so many, there's 4 difficulties by default in this game, and there's a 5th one you can unlock, which is basically just one hit kill for the whole game. And so this game has a ton of like speedrunning potential because of all the different categories, or all the different difficulties, and you can make different categories for each one, and so on. And the game actually keeps track of your fastest times in like the record menu because it has an in-game timer. So this is just a survival round, and now that the timer ran out and we've survived, we now get a nice ending cutscene with so you can hear your shots, but you don't actually see them here for some reason. Okay, so we get the ghost of that bird from the statue we saw early in the game. Yeah, so this is a really fun game. I highly recommend it to everyone. Matt Makes Games made a bunch of like fun little free games. This was made in 2007, and then he went on to make Celeste, you know, like 10 years later. So, yeah, this is a really fun Metroidvania. It's fun platforming too. Although, like I said, the platforming is kind of maybe too precise for its own good sometimes. But it just has so much speedrun potential and routing potential and stuff, and I think it would be a lot of fun to see more people run this game. So anyway, so let's see my time, 28:55. All right, and 21% completion. It keeps track of your completion rate. The lowest percentage I've done in this game is 19%. So it's basically skipping the hearts, and I think there's one more ability you can skip. I kind of forget. But anyway, that's basically the gist of how this run goes. 0 deaths, 13 saves. I might have done an extra save somewhere, but that's sort of the idea of this run, and hopefully, you know, more people try this out, or other difficulties, other categories. You could go for fastest hatch, because the game actually keeps track of that in the records menu, weirdly enough. So, fun stuff, but yeah, thanks for watching.